would like to invite our first guest, and the first guest is nobody else, a very renowned person from the education industry, an educational consultant, teachers trainer, staff and talent manager, training content designer, curriculum developer, with an experience of more than 16-17 years, working on projects pan-India for both one-side trainings and online consulting. She is none other than Miss Nandita Prakash, the person who has a big name in the industry, and she is the award-winning personality. She is the owner of, she has worked with many organizations in different capacities, the well-known organization like Shri Ram Global or BPN Education. She is also being a guest speaker with Delhi University, and on her recent project, she is enabling teachers in more than 25 schools across pan-India to improve online teaching skills, technical upgradation, integration of co-scholastic with scholastic during online classes, help students maintain good mental health, preparing for new session with possible changes through free sessions, and how to get employable. So all this is there, and she's an award-winning personality. She is being awarded with APJ Abdul Kalam's International Educators Honor 2020 and Jagat Guru Sri Krishna Samman 2020. There are many more things to elaborate her profile, but it's I'm just cutting it short, and I am passing the baton to Nandita to take the conversation forward on the topic, as she has chosen the topic that what are the challenges we are going to face, and already it has already popped up in due to the new introduced education policy NEP 2020. So mic is yours, Nandita.
Thank you, Nalini. Thanks a lot for such an elaborate and I would say generous introduction. And thanks to you and Sana for calling me to attend this seminar with such eminent speakers that you have in the panel. So thanks a lot. Before I begin the topic for today, first I would like to say that we should be grateful that after more than 3 decades, we have got this revolution in the education sector in the form of NEP 2020. So though the previous policies were also very influential, but this particular policy brings a 360-degree change in all the areas of education, I would say, starting from the early childhood to the university level. So definitely it is a very encouraging move, and it is a very thoughtful planning, I would say. But every planning, no planning can be foolproof, right? So success of a planning depends on the way it is implemented. And considering India, because we are a big country with the kind of population that we have, with the kind of demography that we have, the language barriers and such diversity India has, that it is equivalent to 100 countries in itself, right? So ruling all of them with one policy or one thumb rule is definitely not going to be an easy ride for any one of us. So everybody who has read the policy, everybody who has already started, taking a course in the same direction would agree with me that it will only bring its true colors once we start implementing it. Also, we are yet to get a detailed guideline of every area and every policy guidelines that are given right now, and it will be too early for us to judge the policy on any of the parameters. But in the first look, so when we study the first few guidelines that are given to us, there are a few questions that come to minds of educators, right? Because we are the ones who are going to implement it further. So based on that kind of an observation, I have a few points to share with the audience today and everybody in the panel. I'll begin with the smallest segment or the youngest segment of education system, which is early childhood education. It is very good that they have now will have a proper national education policy, a not proper framework for this particular area, because it was neglected for really long. There were so many diversions. There were pre-primary segments, there were preschools. So they all were operating on their own, right? So to bring all of them under one header and to have a proper observing committee over it is a very good move. But on the other hand, there has been no guidelines related to the training upgrade of the already existing teachers who are handling children of this age group. So on one hand, we have these posh private schools who have the best category of teachers who are trained and groomed. Even in international platform, they have been groomed to that level. But on the other hand, we have Anganwadi workers. So they are not well groomed, well trained, and we also cannot be sure about the quality education that is important to children. So when we talk about the same policy for everyone, we will probably would not be able to ensure the same quality given to the children. So the first division appears here. In an urban sector, we still have private schools to support, but in a rural area, we don't have such facilities available, and even if we have, people are not able to afford it. Right, so a huge divide can be created right from the very beginning of the structure. Right, so this is one. Second is when we further move to the pre-primary segment. Now it has been said that with introduction of 3-language policy, the regional languages or the mother tongue will also be introduced, and the more emphasis will be given in teaching all subjects such as EVS, social studies, mathematics in the regional languages. Now it's a very brilliant idea because I understand the psychological value of it, because you understand better when you understand in your own language, right? And most of the Scandinavian countries are already doing it. But again, coming back to the question that we are a big country, we have a lot of diversity. Now, catering to every regional language, number one, we will face difficulty in finding good quality language teachers. Already, we are all aware that finding a good quality language teacher is a difficulty. And then further dividing it into various regional languages will become further more difficult. That is one. Second is that the moment these children come to a main platform, private schools definitely, because of the competition and because of what they have already been following English as the main language. So they will definitely have an advantage over the other schools where they're following the mother language. English as a language, you all must agree that it has a greater market value, a greater international market value, right? So when we talk about right now, you see Indians working in every country, in every sector, right? Why so? Because we, number one, of course, because of our hard work, but at the same time, we also have an advantage because of our language acquisition. Right, so though there are people who are from Japan who are also, but how many people do you really see from Japan or Scandinavian countries working in other countries when compared to Indians? So we already have that advantage over the globe. That probably will get affected, because if a child learns, learns in the mother language till grade 5 or till grade 6, once they move to the mainframe of English language, they will find it difficult that the acquisition of English language will become a little delayed, right? So this is one limitation that I think. And at the same time, this again supports the bridge. It again divides between the rural and urban population of students, because the private schools available in urban land will definitely continue with English language. Secondly, providing published material on these regional languages, that is also something that the policy does not define. The policy does not tell anything about how are we going to provide with publication in various languages, because again, regional or mother languages are many in number. So providing material on that will be difficult, though it has been said in the policy that it will be provided in the website. But in a population wherein 30% of Indian population have got smartphones, rest of them still don't have this facility. How many of them do you think will be able to download the content, get the print, and then study? This further, kind of discourages a huge segment of our population who, who are it's very difficult for them to send their children to school. The children are first generation learners, right? So we cannot expect their parents to support them to this level. This will further discourage them from sending their children for a regular, regular education. So this is again furthering the divide. Now coming to a very important question. So with 3-language introduction, of course, this is also an attempt to include Hindi as a language in every region, right, to bring the uniformity. Now, we also know that states like Tamil Nadu, they have already refused that they will not take the 3rd language, Hindi language, inclusive in their structure. We are not sure how many states will probably not accept that language. So again, there is there is a disparity in policy and implementation of it. So coming to so further moving on to the vocational subjects that have been introduced. Now we are sitting in cities, right? So here we see students who are going to their regular classrooms, and vocational subjects that they pursue are more or less like a hobby for them, right? But let's look at the bigger picture, the majority government schools that they have, because majority segment of students still go to government schools. Now talking about them, if you're equipping them through vocational courses, in a way they will probably get pulled towards learning the vocational courses in a better way, and try to get dropped out of the school so that they can pursue the skill further and earn some money. So they will not be encouraged to finish their high school even, and in between there can be chances of major dropouts, so that they can pick up the vocational course further and start earning money from it. Right, so this is one thing that we have to consider. For children in private urban schools, it can be a hobby, but for the same thing for children in other government schools, it can become a source of income for them and their families. Right, so further we will definitely encourage the cases of dropout in high school. Secondly, we do not have so there's nothing wrong in pursuing vocational studies, right? In fact, we are trying to encourage that. But do we have any vocational college which can promote our children and provide them proper employment? There, we rarely have any vocational college which can promote that. So first of all, we'll have to develop that. Providing vocational knowledge for 3 years will not suffice, because number one, we will have to equip them. Second is, if they get trained, they will still come back to the cities. They will deserted their own villages or their own regions and will start coming to the cities, migrate, so that they can get jobs here, right? Because education policy, we are equipping them, but are we also creating venues for them to get an employment in their own respective states? No such thing has come into the plan right. So that is one. Second is, this is again linked to it, so I would further like to talk about university level. Now, since it has been said that every college, every university will now become a multidisciplinary, right? It's a good move. But then what about institutions like IIT and AIMS, who are actually specialized in providing best engineers and best doctors in the country and for the world, for that matter, right? So maybe in the process of making them multidisciplinary, we will probably lose out on the quality which they are already providing. So then again, further, the quality will get diluted. Instead of increasing the quality standard, we are diluting the standard. Well, I think overall in the policy, the main thing that is missing is when we talk about 4 years degree program for teachers, we are talking about new generation of teachers. What about the 80,000 teachers that we already have? We are not talking about their upgrade, right? And these are the teachers who are going to teach for another 20 to 30 years minimum. So what is going to happen to the children who are going to pass out in this particular duration of 20 to 30 years? We haven't equipped our existing teachers. The reason why CCA failed, because we were not able to equip our teachers. The system the policy had no errors, but we could not implement it because of the lack of teaching, lack of standards. This is exactly the worry that I have, that the policy comes with a 360-degree change, but are the people who are going to implement it, associated with it, are equipped enough to handle that kind of a change? Do they have the same kind of understanding and learning of what changes are we talking about? And how much time do we give to ourselves as a policy maker? I would say, how much time do I give to myself to equip my team to handle that kind of a change? So the policy does not talk about all that. Now, I'm hoping that once we get an elaborated planner of how things can be done along with the timeline, I am hopeful that we'll still get a little clarity on this. But till then, these are the worries that I have. And I think we, people like us who have a say in the industry, should keep talking about it so that it reaches to the right podium, it reaches to the policy maker. I'm sure they must be already aware about these issues. If we can identify, they must have identified it themselves. So let's hope that we can also bring in some more ideas to provide it to them, so that the right changes can be done at the right time.
So Thank you so much, Nandita, for bringing forth all the points which are really going to be a challenge. And already we can see these challenges in front of us, seeing the NEP 2020 document and reading through it. And as you said, that already 80,000 teachers are there. What about them? So, anybody who would like to ask any question to Nandita? If anybody is there, please raise your hand. We are open to answer. Okay. Nandita, if you allow me, I would like to discuss one more point with you as you have talked about the mother tongue, teaching in mother tongue. So, teaching students in mother tongue will help inculcate human values. That is absolutely true. But how far it is going to really work out in the present scenario and in the coming future?
See, so there are two aspects to this question that we have. One aspect says that yes, it is much simpler and easier if you learn in your mother tongue. Undebatable. Completely accept that point. At the same time, yes. So in the first till grade 5, children learn and they learn better than any other language in their language. And once they do that, they get equipped to further learn better in the higher classes. Right? Understandable. But when you look at the current scenario, as I said, that private schools will not stop putting focus on English language because that is one of the USPs that they put across to parents.
True, true.
Also, I would say it is an Indian mindset that everybody must be proficient in English language. The reason why we also in seminars we are using this language, while we know that most of our listeners are not proficient in it. We also don't care that whether our message actually reaches to every single teacher present in our country or no, isn't it? So it's somewhere we have this mindset that we give preference to English language. Suddenly bringing this change, I understand it being a success in other countries because they never had a mindset of we have a colonized mindset even till now, right? So seeking something which is as a language, we do somewhere feel superior if we are better in one language. That's English for sure. Now, can we change that mindset entirely? Because it's not about education; it is about the society we live in. It is about the perception that we have. This is one value. Second value is, as I said, that the international market, when a candidate, if you apply for any job and any international job, if you have a good English language, it's definitely an advantage. But on one hand, we talk about making our students global citizens, and on the other hand, we give the basics in the regional language. There's nothing wrong in it. But do you see that the kind of disparity it's going to create in between? So are we ready for that? Are we ready for taking a dip in that kind of change, or can we probably have a midway in between? Introducing 3 language policy is fine. Having English and Hindi is fine. But is it important to put emphasis on regional language to be the only language in which all your other subjects such as SST, EVS, or mathematics is taught? Can we not have something in between? Can we not leave it on the schools to do that? Okay, I also understand on one extreme hand, we have posh private schools who will have emphasis on English language. But on the other hand, if there is one school in a tribal area, there is no point putting focus on English there. There, the priority is to make sure that the children understand the concept. So there, if you are picking up the regional language or mother language, it will definitely give you better results, right? So I think probably the policy will have to give some liberty for the schools to take this decision, for the states to take this decision.
And I hope NEP is really not I hope I can see that NEP is asking for the suggestions from all the schools and whatever, not only all the educators, whether what they want to say related to each and everything. And that is the best part, because before implementing such things, we should be very, very well prepared. And I hope that we will be prepared in a year or two.
In
let's
fact,
see
I'm
what.
very hopeful because of this policy. I'm very hopeful that suddenly, now all the things that we wanted to bring as a change will now
Yeah.
be able to do it, right? Because the
Yes.
policy supports it. The policy
Yeah.
talks about vocational education. The policy
Yeah.
talks about skill development. It talks about
Yeah.
life skills. These are the things
Yeah.
that we people have been talking about
Yeah.
for ages. Now,
Yeah.
formally, we'll be able to do that. So,
Yeah.
as I said, that policy in itself can be a very can bring a 360-degree change, but plan
Mm.
implementation is something that we all have to support and bring it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And above everything, the human values, which was degrading day by day, will also be a part of education now.
True. True.
Yeah. Thank you so very much
Thank you.
for, yeah, being the part. And now I am calling upon our next panelist. Uh, he is the person known as, I will say that he is an Indian environmentalist, Mr. Jishan Khan, and the CEO of Beyond Smart Group. Jishan sir, are you there?
There's some network issue. He's joining in 2-3 minutes.
Okay,
He just texted me. Yeah.
okay, okay, okay.
Till the time, if anyone has any question, they can share. We're happy to help.
As still Nandita is there, and we are privileged that Ashish sir has also joined. So Ashish sir, Nandita has taken up the topic uh, on challenges of NEP. So if you have any questions, you can put forth. Nandita, I hope you don't mind to answer him.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So Ashish sir, please unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't listen her. Sorry, I joined late. As already I informed. But last word is three language principle or four language principle. But as per my experience, what I want to say to all of members, that language is not at all any bar. If we will learn language, my belief is that we have to learn only one language. That's supposed to be perfectly you need to communicate in that language, whether it is English, French, German, Chinese, or Indian, any language. If you are able to communicate properly in one language, nowadays technology in all these things are there, you are automatically translate, and communication is possible. Language is only for the communications. So art is there nothing but of communications. So you are able to communicate through art and language, but only one language. I believe, instead of the confusing many things. Yesterday, sorry, he's from Brazil, who's in me?
Andre, Andre, Andre.
Henry. Yeah. He also said that language learning quite difficult. So instead of the confusing children, so after grown up, means after 17, 18 years, if the people will learn many languages, it's okay. But in this period, schooling period, if you are, as I'm supporting Nandita also, confirm one or two language is sufficient. I'm supporting on these things with the Nandita ma'am.
In fact, one thing as a linguistic student, what I had learned was, according to the learning milestones of students, it takes at least 3 years to learn one language, right?
Yes,
But here in
obviously.
India, you would see that when the child is 3 years old, we are talking in mother tongue, we are talking in English, we are talking in Hindi.
Yeah,
So because
absolutely.
that is the reason why the children these days, the teenagers, they are more proficient in slang rather than actual use of a language. Nobody actually talks Hindi, nobody actually talks proper English, or the
English.
proper regional language.
Everything is spoiled.
True,
Okay.
true.
So as Nandita has already said that there will be challenges, but we have to first think of that how to get means go ahead without being feeling checked related to it. So as you said, bring forth Andre saying, Andre was saying that it is difficult to learn, But in Indian scenario, as Nandita says, even I'm pretty sure that learning language is not a big deal for any of us at any
Yes,
point
it's
of age.
obvious.
At any point
Even
of
my
age.
6-year-old daughter know 4 languages.
Yes.
6-year-old.
Okay. Okay.
She know
Okay.
4 languages.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite obvious. Indian people are used to of all that.
Yes,
The
yes.
one is their environmental language, one is their mother tongue, other one is their school language, and like this, three,
Natural
four
method.
language. Naturally, we come across so many languages that
Language.
we learn. Yes. So as
Yeah, yeah.
thank
But
you so much. Yeah, please.
perfections need at least one language. My point is, at least one language you must perfect.
Yeah, proficiency is needed in one language, definitely, and one should be proficient in one language, but you cannot compel today's generation on that even.
See, I think another thing is that according to multiple intelligence, so some children
Yeah,
we also have to consider the segment who is not linguistically equipped, who do
yeah.
not have linguistic skills, right? So it is really difficult for some children to learn languages,
Hmm.
right? Which in the early age we are not able to identify even.
Yeah.
Some children actually face the difficulty of learning languages, and we only say that you're getting less marks. What we don't understand is that their linguistic learning skills are less, right? So I think
Hmm.
somewhere we also have to take care of those children.
Hmm.